So Laura and Gabriella, about the same age, totally different looks and lifestyle. Gabriella's perky and wants to perform and, is just that girl at the party that you're drawn to, Gabriella's a little bit more downtown, a little bit more understated, a little bit more funkier, And Gabriella had been coloring her hair herself. And she came to me with a regrowth and then sort of this mahogany chocolatey color through the rest of her hair. Now her hair is naturally sort of wavy with a decent amount of volume. And this is kind of this is a good study too. So take a look at the chart for Gabriella. Naturally a level 4 and a fine texture of hair. I call out the fineness of the texture because I'm going to show you a little trick that we can do without having to use lightener. The first is the base is a level 6 GM, which is a gold mahogany hair color. In the chromatics line, this is my chocolate flavored hair color. That's what the GMs are, the gold mahogany. So on a natural level 4, using a level 6 hair color with 10 volume, I'm breaking the base a little bit. I'm matching what she came in with and then further enhancing it. And you guys know that mostly what you do in the salon, in a lot of cases, is matching touch-ups, right? Now, the truth is, you might not like the touch-up that you have to match, but you have to match it if you want to get a client, retain a client, and once she sees that you can match her color, then you can explore different options. Then you have her hooked on more highlights or a different type of look. But if you got to bang it out the first time. So the GMs for me are the chocolate-inspired hair colors, and the rest of Gabriella's hair sort of had an over-deposit to it, and it was a little dull, and it didn't have a lot of life and excitement to it. So we put on a touch-up, standard 4-section fine parting. Stand up and do a little spin for me. I want you to just see the subtlety of the dimension of the hair color that's running through her hair. We achieved that once the base formula was on using Chromatics Clear with 30 volume. So I'm using permanent color in a clear, so it has no dye to redeposit. And 30 volume brings it to life a little bit. Now, you can do those things once you really understand the hair color and read the texture well. If she had black ends or level 3 or 2 ends, I wouldn't have done that. I would have had to have gone in with a lightener in order to break through that. But by using a permanent color, which just happens to be called clear, so it's not really a color, but it's clear, with 30 volume, we put in about 40 to 45 foils, considered in my world almost a full head highlight, and it lifted through the mid-shaft and ends, and it cleaned the hair strand. Do you know what I mean by that? It took away the over-deposit and cleaned it. So spin around real slow for us. So to me, it now has this richness of, do you remember like Brady Bunch 70s paneling in the rumpus room? Do you know what I mean? It has that stridation, that little bit of wood paneling kind of color to it. So we matched her touch-up, we created something unique, and I'll bet you that 75% of the colorists out there would have never thought to do it. They would have either just done a touch-up and glazed it or popped in a few highlights. Yeah? Any questions on that? Yes? Right, so we put on the 6GM on the roots to do a touch-up. And then while that was on, I went through and highlighted through in foils the clear with 30 volume. Right, the hair that was out between the foils was the hair that she came to me with. Not glazed, not touched, not nothing. So that's how I get that dimension, because I keep some of that, but then I lift away some of the deposit from other parts of the strand. And the hair that's longer, of course, will be a little bit lighter because it's older hair and it starts to become a little bit of a different texture towards the bottom. I love it. I think it's a study in simplicity and how to make it sing and dance for you. Yes? The clear is a permanent color. Somebody needs to buy chromatics. There is clear. There's a couple ways that you can use clear, right? But first, I want to just explain something briefly. Permanent color, I don't care who makes it, is based on lifting and depositing, right? And it's based on a 2-level lift system. So even back in beauty school, you know, if you were a 4 and you wanted to be a 6, you pick a 6 with 20 volume, and that'll get you there. So the clear is that same philosophy. So clear with 20 volume will actually lift more than 2 levels because there's nothing being deposited back down. So when I use 30 volume on a fine texture, I almost get the effect of, do you remember old school oil lighteners? You know, you almost get that effect where it left some tone in the hair and didn't overlift and become super blonde. So that's clear. That's one way to use it. The other is, if you're doing reds, for example, you might have a red shade on the scalp, and then you add clear with more developer before you would bring it through so that you can dilute it. There's all sorts of fun ways to play with that. Yes? Yeah, that's always, the question is, so this is color lifting color. It is, technically, and I know that we've always been taught that color won't lift color, but the other part of that sentence is predictably and on purpose, right? But we know that if we take an alkali and developer and we bring it through, something is going to happen, right? But it's just a matter of, oh, can I predict the lift? Can I predict the tone? So I really read the hair strand when I was working with Gabriella, and I looked from scalp to ends. So I felt confident after working with the line for a while that clear with 30 would clean this away for me, you know? So it's not color because there's no dye, it's just clear, and it's acting almost like a super mild lightener kind of thing. Cool? What do you guys think? Spin around, give her some music. Uh-oh, here she comes, here she comes. Go all the way to the end, play with your hair a little bit. Oh my God, I'm so short. I said in my next life I'm going to be Hannah. Look right into the camera. This is the kind of hair, ready, that gets her anything she wants. Go ahead, pull your hands through your hair. Can I have a new Porsche? I love this new shoes at $2,000. That's that sexy, amazing hair. Do you know what I mean? It's just yummy and beautiful, and it's also a study in using what the client came in with and how to be really simple with the kind of work that you do, but impactful, you know? We only put 7 foils in her hair. That's it. So let me give you the diagnostic here, and then I'll show you a little bit on how we work that. So here's Hannah, naturally a level 4-5. And I worked with up to 7, which is a powdered lightener that we make, Redken makes. It's a beautiful lightener, stays wet, doesn't have a fragrance. It's really nice to work with. And we place those pieces, tilt your head forward a little bit, just in the front. Do you see those? Look at those great, freaking awesome highlights. Seriously. So when I consult with clients, you know, like beautiful women that are confident and have a look, you know, and I know that a few highlights will enhance her look, I build a story around it, you know. I'll say, you know, sometimes when you come into the salon, you put your sunglasses on top of your head. You know what? When you're in your convertible driving down the 10 in LA, I want your hair to be flowing back and have these great highlights running through it. So we only have to put a few in to create that effect. And that's exactly what we did. So come join me here for a moment, please. So this is how we placed the highlights. This is really fun. So if you want to get these big PC, that move around through the hair, here's what we did. I held her hair back, and I moved in with my tail comb like this. 1, 2, 3. Let me just make sure clean this up a little bit. So do you see these 3 pieces? I didn't grab the exact same, pieces but you get it. And then this is where the line of the highlight is, and the foil goes in right underneath, and this is where we painted on up to 7 from scalp to ends and wrapped it in a foil. So this was 1 foil. We did the same thing with this second piece, the same thing with this third piece. So that's 3 foils. And on the sides, see these pieces? Love them. And they're not toned, by the way. There's no glaze or tone or anything. They're the highlights. That's it. So on the side, we followed the same kind of an idea of just 2 pieces of a zigzag. And 1 foil went in here, scalp to ends up to 7, 10 volume. And the second foil went in here. And then I repeated it on the other side. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces, that was it. Once those highlights were in, very similar to Ginger, the perky sort of goldeny Gossip Girl, we used Shades EQ in the demi-permanent line. And we used, go ahead, you can comb through there. We used 07WN, which is a level 7, sort of a nice chocolatey brown hair color in deposit only. And it was applied very liberally to the scalp area and pushed out. And then the same thing. Once the whole head was on, we just combed it away from the root area and followed it down the strand. So all of what you see here is what Hannah came in to visit me with. These are old highlights that she had. So I didn't want to cover them. I didn't want to relighten them. I just wanted this to have a friend on her head and move some of those pieces a little bit further up. So for those of you that are really into sort of doing the ombre from the mid-lengths to ends, there's going to come a time that you're going to have to do something different. The girl's hair continues to grow and the roots become bigger and the ombre becomes more like dry and not terrific. That's when you say, you know what, I would love to take some of your ombre pieces and just move them up a little bit more and frame your face just a little bit better. So we're creating a very specific look with Hannah. She's actually shooting in Miami. Is it this week or next week? This week, bathing suit, right? So you might see her somewhere, and you'll be like, ooh, she's okay, but David did her color. So have a walk, flirt, show off a little bit. Okay, so this is Kiara, and this was also a customer that I see a lot of. When she had her hair colored, but went a really long time without coloring it again. In fact, when I saw Kiara, she had a regrowth to about here. Nearly split in half, about a level 4 or 5. And the last time she colored her hair was last July, so almost a year ago. So what do you do with that, right? We could go in and do 1 million highlights, but that's very common. Anyone can do that. Anyone can bang out 25, 30 foils and just break up the depth of her hair and then glaze it. She's very, very pretty face, lots of hair, needs to have something more than just highlights. So take a look at her sheets. Losing my sheets. Here's Kiara, natural level 4, medium texture. We also worked with chromatics in this case as well. And this one requires a little bit of a technical explanation, which I think you might find kind of fun. We used a level 8 ash-based color, level 8 AA. And I used 15 volume for the retouch. Basically, I had to do a virgin color application because she had about this much of virgin hair. Now, you know as well as I do what a pain in the butt that would be, right? To just, and this is the ends of her hair, to try and color from here down, right, on a natural wavy Puerto Rican curly texture head of hair, and then go back through and do a touch-up. You've been there, right? You're like fighting with the hair to stretch it and uncurl it, and it's a mess. So what I did to get around that was I used a level 8 ash with 15 volume. Now, I would love to be able to tell you when you use 10, 15 volume, but I think some of it is when you go to the color bar, the dispensary, and you stand there and you like haze over a little bit. And there's all this action going on, and your colleagues and you're like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I think like 20 volume is going to give me hot roots, and that's going to be a mess. 10 volume is going to be like I didn't even touch it with anything. I can't do a demi because she wants to be lighter and brighter. She doesn't want to be a return to her natural color. So that was my inspiration with 15 volume. And let me draw something out for you that can also be helpful to you. So we started with a natural level 4, okay? 5, 6, 7, and I ended up using level 8 hair colors. If you ever want to figure out the lifting part of the hair color, is wherever these two intersect is about the level that you would achieve with 20 volume. Do you see how that works? So I start with a 5, I'm using a level 8 color. Where they meet in the middle is about my expected level of color. Now, I can either brighten or add more depth to that, and there's 2 pacing items to that. One is the volume of developer, and second is the texture of the hair. If I had super thick, Shakira texture of hair, I'm going to get less action out of it. If I have super fine hair, then I'm going to get more action out of it. So this was the philosophy that I went through. A natural level 4, using a level 8, and we used AA with 15 volume. So I get to about a level 6 if I were using 20, and then with 15, I'm going to end up coming in more at about a level 5.5 or so. And what's the undertone at a level 5 to 6? It's that brassy, gross, hard to control red, orange. And that's why I picked the most ash-based color I could have, so that I'm only bumping a level and a half or so, but then massively controlling the undertone with the AA. So that was on the scalp and pushed through, but then I still had a considerable amount of hair to deal with. So I remixed the 8 ash with 20 volume for the remaining part of that hair. Make sense? So I don't get hot roots, but I need, the cold shaft needs more action. So I got more action by simply using the same shade, but a different volume of developer. That gave me a little bit more of a pick-me-up. So that is what we have with Kiara, and I was very happy with it. I kind of want to do it, but then they always kill me backstage when I do this. Here, hold that. Yes. How do you achieve 15 volume is you mix 10 and 20 equally. Yeah, they meet in the middle, and they'll give you that middle volume. Okay? Okay, now this might hurt you more than me, okay? because I want to show you guys just the reality of salon coloring. Oh, this is, my buddy at Christopher at Pureology helped me with the updo. Cute, right? It's like a modern facial thing. Okay, there, showed that off. Let me see if I can, I got to pull a piece out. Unhook me a little bit. Can you, because what I want you to see is the reality of coloring, which means as we, you can pull it out and we'll see how fast you can do a side bun twist in the back. Okay, look at all this hair we have. Hold these for me, please. I know they hate when I do this, but it's such an important message because we are faced with this kind of stuff all the time. Hold that for me, please. Here we go. Yay, I have a piece of hair. Okay, and I'm going to have a look at it this way and then spin it to you guys. Can you see there's where the starting and stopping point is? Now, you have to admit that even though there's a slight starting and stopping point, from here up is pretty damn good. It's pretty even, and that was 8 AA with 15, and then 8 AA with 20 vol till we hit this point. The reality is I can only do so much on one visit, and we just need to tell the truth to people like that. Her naturally curly hair is you're never going to see it when it's down. The second thing is when you have horizontal lines like that, and in this case, we would see a little bit of this in here. If you move in vertically, you confuse the hair, and it blends in just a little bit better. So what you're seeing is a beautiful sort of cocoa or medium caramel color, and we added a few highlights into it.